Don't worry, be happy.
Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry. Boo, 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 boo.
Be
happy.
Be happy.
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 I did not get the helium memo.
Sorry, you didn't get the helium memo?
No.
The question is, how do we hold the helium? These balloons won't hold the helium. I need a paper clip.
I think they work pretty good. I don't know.
But how
Wow,
do you hold the helium?
I'm feeling pretty good about this helium right now.
7:01, and it's the weirdest cast yet.
I'm not sure how well. Oh, there it goes. It's all gone.
How do I kill this? Okay, there we go. Look at that.
Hi.
Wow, I feel dizzy.
I know.
Man,
I'm not sure that was a good call necessarily.
I feel funny.
it's only one way to find out. Gotta try.
Welcome to Outside the Inn, everybody. We are the Travis Larson Band. Our weekly Saturday Q&A session.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
So here's the thing, people. We have these balloons. Jennifer Young's dad, my honorary dad tonight, Pop, as we like to refer to him.
Paw.
His 80th birthday party is today.
Right.
And so we had this socially distant 80th birthday party for him. We had these balloons. And Dale is locked in a basement.
Yeah, they're treating me well so far, so the vibe is still happy.
Because he was here for the 80th birthday party. And we have a special friend of the family guest here tonight that we're very excited about. It's his actually second time appearing on an Outside the Inn tonight because he's that good.
Is he the first second?
He's the first second. Yes.
It's the first second.
Yes.
This is fitting.
So this is I'm going to hype him up because that's what you got to do so that people that don't care will hopefully care, right? Like people are like,
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay, you got your friends on. This guy, he plays with the Zappa Band, which is like the Zappa alumni band. He played with, for the last 30 years or something like that, Mike Keneally, various projects. He played with Duran Duran at what point in his career. He's played with like session-wise, we can just get into that. There's like goes on and on and on and on. But he's our good friend, quickly becoming more than a friend. Please welcome to the show again, our good buddy here for Jen's dad's birthday, Joe Travers, the famous, incredible drummer. Yay!
Wow, are you guys high as shit right now?
I didn't get the memo, Joe. Did you? I didn't.
Hey, I'm just drinking some hot chocolate, but though, Jen and Travis are like going there. They're like actually going to the helium world.
I'm trying to figure out how to store the helium because there's gonna, we always have to out jam at the end of the night.
Right, have another. I stocked up.
I'm sitting here with Dave, and we're just like, that can't be good for you.
I can feel my brain cells just going boop. Boop.
Yeah.
Okay, so those that don't know, I mentioned Mike Keneally, the Zappa Band, also the keeper of the Zappa Vault. We'll get into all those things, but we've known Joe for years, toured with him several times, and he's just, he's the guy. It doesn't matter how many big famous guys he plays. Oh, Eric Johnson. Eric Johnson was.
I was going to say you left that out, and didn't you leave out Joe
and Joe Satriani?
Yeah, those guys matter.
What do I know?
Who?
Played with all these guys,
it wouldn't interest you, guitar players.
So anyway, So Joe is he's that guy that's never too big a rock star to come hang out at Dad's birthday party.
That's right.
Right. He's
With
the guy.
Chloe and Toby, right?
But here's the thing. we had, because Joe is such a widely renowned artist, of course we have, various stipulations. And so we had the cup before the show when we were in the green room. Joe, what's in the cup?
Hot chocolate.
Yeah, but it was crappy when we started, right? It wasn't good.
Jen whipped me up another one.
Is it better?
It's just slightly better. I don't know, you guys. Can I just say, I was all like hyped up on the Keurig because I thought the Keurig was like the coolest thing. Am I right? And it let me down twice.
Sorry. Maybe it's old hot cocoa.
Does anybody out there watching have a Keurig that you love? Just love it like it's the best thing in the world, or what?
Listen.
I'm dumb about coffee makers.
I don't understand how this all works, but if you made hot chocolate and you used water, no wonder it tastes like crap.
Well, that's a good point.
That could be true.
No, you need 2% is even too watery for hot chocolate. You should be using whole milk.
Oh, right. Yeah,
you should be using whole milk.
That's true.
That's what you deal with these bass players making this hot chocolate.
Look, Anthony Kimball says he's not a fan of the Keurig either. So I guess the hype about the Keurig is just it's not happening. The Keurig's not happening.
So says
It
Joe
doesn't
Travers.
make a bad cup of coffee, though.
Oh, well, there you go. See?
I just don't know about the cocoa.
Right. What about tea? What about tea?
Well, it has a hot water feature. So it boils water and you put the tea in there, and that's just like any old situation.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So I don't think the Keurig could screw up hot water.
Gotcha. Well, I'm going to enjoy this hot cocoa no matter what. And I got to say, it's definitely nice to be on the show with you guys again. It's nice to be the first returning guest. That's pretty cool. It's historical.
Yeah, because you're the guy that was good enough to come back, Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. And it was great to be here for Jen's father's birthday. That was pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
We had some good eats.
Yeah.
And some good peeps.
Yeah.
And we also, Dale, did we not have a good snare drum geek out nerd porn session today? That
was a good show and tell. Show me yours, I'll show you mine. Snare drum.
Yeah.
A festival of good snare drum times.
So basically at this point now, Dale has a very nice selection of snare drums. Very nice. And we kind of whipped them all out and tuned them all up and played them all side by side. And we were like geeking out at the differences between wood and metal and the different kinds of metal and the different kind of heads. And Dale wants to use this drum for ballads, but he wants to use this one and I said, man, you've got the perfect snare drum for the Rush cover band that you're going to be in the future.
True. That Slingerland poplar with maple inside, mahogany outside. And
that snare drum sounded awesome.
It was awesome, right? So my approach to collecting, and I think I don't want to put anybody else in this boat, but I think some collectors would say you're doing it wrong because I just get.
Oh my gosh!
Oh no!
I need a little. Yeah. I almost poured the hot chocolate all over the Mac.
I thought you did.
You might as well. It's watery and crappy.
That was real close.
There's no point in drinking it. No point in drinking it.
I didn't even have any helium. This is bullshit.
Hey, Stephanie said, and this is referring back to the Keurig, I think she said, this may even beat the earwax.
Oh yeah, right. We had an earwax discussion.
We did an episode on earwax.
It's way better than that.
I don't know if you can beat that. That was a fascinating discussion.
This is I like me some snare drums, and I will geek out, especially in pandemic times, and mess around with all the tunings. Joe is the snare drum whisperer. I had a couple of drums from like, listen to this. I mess around with it. I don't remember where I left it, and he like taps it, messes with the bottom head, and it just springs to life in a way I've never heard. It was beautiful.
Hey, do me a favor, Dale, and just clap over your head once really loud.
Are you just trying to make me dance?
I was just listening to that empty room you're in.
Sorry, I wanted to get closer to the mic.
No, it would sound fantastic if you were singing "Message in a Bottle."
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, for being abducted into a basement, it's pretty nice basement, and I'm being treated well so far.
Right. Okay, so let me mention before we get too started on anything like organized, as if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
The very first post in the feed tonight, and also if you go to any of my Travis Larson or Travis Larson Band Facebook pages, there is a link to an event that just got posted for next weekend at 7:00 Pacific. So what I'm telling you people is that we're going to replace Outside the Inn next Saturday with a live show where I was invited to do a set for a promoter who's doing live stream concerts called Can't Stop the Blues, which of course I'm not your traditional blues artist, but I did my best to pick out material that I thought sort of fit the bill and would, kind of not get me booed off the stage if it was a blues crowd. Although in this instance, if they boo me off the stage, what's going to happen, right? Nothing. I'm just going to ignore them. But I think
once you're off the stage.
So next Saturday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time, I will be doing a live stream set here from the Treehouse. Basically, just a live from the Treehouse show, but it's going to be more kind of like bluesy centric. I'm going to be getting my David Gilmour on and kind of playing more of the stuff that's influenced by bluesy stuff that we do in the Travis Larson Band. There might actually be some 4/4, so that'll be fun.
Oh.
Or there might just be like some 6/8 and 7/8 blues,
Will there be helium and hot chocolate?
That's why tonight is really the night to be here.
Right.
Right? Helium and hot chocolate is where it's at, baby.
That sounds like an album title, I think. Something.
For real.
So anyway, the
Some
first
sort of
post in
title.
tonight's feed is a link to the event for that. And the event is also posted on the Facebook pages. And then there's also a video promo. Feel free to share that stuff around to your friends and tell them to show up next Saturday if they dig music or they know our stuff. It's all for tips, baby. It's all for tips. So show up. There's virtual tip jars. They made it's interesting. These guys are really organized, and they made me sign up for a whole nother virtual tip jar, which I can't even remember what it was called. I was not familiar with it, and I was trying to figure it out. If Joe wasn't here, this is the kind of geeky stuff that would turn into a Q&A of like, how do I do this? It's called Bravo, and it's a pay app, much like PayPal or any other stuff. Anyway. Okay. All the PayPal, all the stuff will be there. So much like it is tonight, if you feel like, supporting Joe's hot chocolate habit. So, sorry, I'm just riffling through real quick here. I have a few things that I was going to throw out there. We have like some stuff that we want to talk about that Joe's working on, but I was going to throw out just some general stuff that we didn't get to last time. When Joe was on, because, when we get to actually talk to another musician, it's kind of fun to throw these stories around. And one of the things that I was going to throw out there that I thought would be interesting, maybe, because the Travis Larson Band, just so you know, Joe, we've been doing, when we don't have a guest on every week, we started talking about our individual albums in order of our catalog and how they were made and all that kind of stuff, what the situation was, where the studio was, all that. And so, what was your first kind of serious recording experience, and how did that whole thing start? And then I have questions referring to that as we go, but that's the first question.
I think probably the very first one that mattered. I mean, I think that I had done some recording in Pennsylvania in my hometown and stuff, so I was kind of I knew what it was like to record. I had done a demo to show off my drumming. I had done things like that. And, but I think the one that comes to mind would be the sessions for Shampoo Horn, the very first zine, Amit and Dweezil record. They had finished the record before I got in the band, but then it came out in Europe. And then, so the European version was different than the one that came out in the U.S. And the one, by the time they had gotten a record, they had got a record deal in the U.S., Dweezil had already started like recording new songs, right?
Okay.
So I ended up on a few, maybe one song, I think, on the Shampoo Horn US version. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So those sessions were probably the first ones that I remember, being like the ones that were like as I was doing it, I was like, okay, this is real deal stuff right now. This is like, I'm 23, and I'm like, I've just turned professional and this is actually going to be on a record. And, I was kind of like, into it.
Right.
Nice.
And Jennifer liked that story so much that she said, I am freaking out of here.
Yeah,
I'm glad we got rid of her because, I mean, in fact, let's just do this.
That's what it looks like when you do too much helium. You just become a little spiral.
Yes. Yeah.
Not centered. Okay.
So that's probably the first one that I remember.
So you mentioned that they had finished the record before you came in. This was actually my next question about recording styles. But did you record to a click after the record was done?
No. He wrote new tunes, right?
Okay.
So we just started tracking new music, and when we did those songs, I don't remember there being a click. I think we just kind of, as a band, we just kind of jammed. Like we just jammed it out. We just rocked it out.
Yeah.
So I don't think we were like shooting for that click, everything sounding like it's on a grid type sound. I think it was just like a band, breathing.
Do you like the freedom of that, or would you rather have the reassurance that you're with the click?
I like it both because both have both of those approaches have benefits.
Yep.
That was kind of my continuation question was, do you have a favorite way to record, say first, last, as a band, that sort of thing. And so I guess the situation dictates the difference.
Well, here's the thing for me. If I go into a session, let's say like this very rarely happens nowadays. But let's say that like, I'm going to go into a recording session for a famous producer or something. Okay. And I learn the tune and I come in and we get the drum sounds and then he tells me, okay, we're going to be on a click. So if he says that we're going to be on a click, instantly I breathe like a sigh of relief because I can play to a click very well. Like a click for me is a safety net. It helps my time be more consistent. It just is. Like when I was in the Duran gig, every song, save for maybe two in the entire show, I was playing to a sequencer. Like I was playing to a sequenced thing. And there was a click track. So it's like, oh my gosh, it's like it's not live without a net. Like I literally had a net. I didn't have to worry. Just as long as I kept the forms and I knew the songs, then the click track was like, it was just like my best friend. That's how I feel about it. Some people, they don't like it because they have maybe they struggle keeping up with it or making it sound natural with it. But I, on the other hand, enjoy it. So, whenever there's a click track, it doesn't intimidate me. It kind of actually makes me go, okay, cool. We can do this. And I'm actually going to sound better because of it,
Yeah, right.
Now you might not get into this space, but to me, I like it. The thing that I like about it is that it keeps me out of my head. I'm not sitting there going, I wonder, this feels right, but maybe I'm going to listen back and I'm going to rush everything tonight. You don't, there's a whole element of second guessing that doesn't exist.
And there's so many drummers, as we know, classic names of drummers that, if there's no click track, they're known for their feel, like the Jim Keltners of the world and people like that. That's the reason why those guys get called, because producers don't even have to think because they know that the shit is going to sound and feel amazing. And that's why they pay those guys the big bucks. Yeah. So, I'm cool with it if it's there, and I'm cool with it if it's not there. I just hope that when it's not there, that I can sound as good as Jim Keltner.
Nice.
Let me ask you this. If you don't use a click, do you know whether you nailed it or not, or there's 10%, even if I liked what happened, if I'm not using a click, that doesn't think I really know until I hear it back.
I can tell as I'm tracking it if it's good enough for my standards.
Okay.
And then sometimes, depending on who I'm working for, like I won't say anything, and then we'll go in and do the playback and see if they hear what I hear. And if they don't, then that's cool because then I don't have to retrack it.
Sure.
Eat some hot chocolate.
Yeah. It's like, okay, where's the Keurig?
Nice.
Do you like the freedom of composing to something that's finished? Like, say if it's more complicated, like some of Mike's music, or like what we do now. You know, Dale generally will. He can come up with stuff after the fact. Whereas when we started out, he always would say, "If I'd known you were going to do that, I would have done this." You know, like because he would record first like a regular band where it would be drums and then stack everything on top.
Right.
And then I would overdub, you know, a bunch of different stuff, and he'd go, "Oh man, I would have accented that," you know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, you know, that kind of depends. Like in the case of Mike Keneally, Mike is very like he's got his shit together. Like when he hands you a demo, he pretty much has it in his head the way that he wants it. You know,
Right.
and of course he'll give you room to do whatever you're going to do, but for the most part, his programmed drums are pretty good. Same with Brian Beller. Like Brian Beller hands you a friggin' demo, and it's like when you go,
It's like, why even do it again, right?
no. I mean, he definitely wants real drums, but it's like, you know, these patterns are pretty much like real close to what I'm thinking. You know, like
right.
So it actually makes the job a little bit easier for you if you're just like, okay, all I have to do is learn these programmed parts and then kind of like filter them through my body, right? And it's going to sound like me.
Right.
But I've got the job is like half the job is done for me because it's like, oh, okay, I'll just learn this, you know. Now some drummers might be like, well, then you don't get a chance to like really be creative or come up with something, you know. That all depends on the composer if they're going to allow you the freedom to actually personalize things to the point where you're not taking away from the original intent.
Right.
So it all just kind of depends. It's a fine line.
Yeah.
So we got a comment here, by the way. It says, "Hey Joe Travers, for me, one of the best drummers ever."
Woo!
Yay!
Wow!
Me too.
Wow! Thanks.
Goober says he was eating and listening and taking helium hits.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's, by the way, I know it says John, but we call him Goober. That's a longtime fan of ours, Joe. Just
Nice.
like, why are you calling this poor guy Goober? It's by design. He likes it. And if you guys, you know, like Dale jumping in, if you guys have anything to jump in, please do. I always have plenty of stuff I can drill Joe about, but don't let me like bogart the whole thing. But I was going to ask you, Joe, do you have a dream gig musically that you either have not been able to do or have that would be like the dream gig, whether it's, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be like the gig for the money or anything like that, but the dream gig of like, what's your perfect gig of what you love to play?
Like musically.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm in it. I think I'm in it now.
Nice.
And that's really something to be said because there are people that go their entire careers not being able to say something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like there could be a drummer out there that's like, I would do anything to play with Sting. You know, and they may never get that opportunity because, you know, maybe they'll just never get there. You know, you just never know.
Yeah, maybe they won't.
But for me, I think that Zappa's music has been such an integral part of my life for so long, and to get the chance to actually be playing it, and especially playing it with the guys, right?
Yeah.
That is definitely a dream come true. Now, if you would have asked this question to me in the 90s, I would have said to you, oh, I would love to be the drummer for Sheryl Crow, or I would love to be the drummer for Nine Inch Nails, you know, before I knew any better. But that would have just that would have just crushed me. But like, you know, those were things that I definitely aspired to or whatever. But now I think that I'm where I really need to be, should be, want to be, you know, and it's cool. I'm happy. I'm happy playing this music, you know. So I'm really, really pleased and grateful and blessed to be doing what I do now.
Yeah. Let me just mention Joey Fabian, old friend of ours we haven't seen in a long time. He says we all owe Joe our lives for taking care of the vault.
Our lives.
Well, yeah, I mean that's been quite the undertaking for many, many years too. It's like I've spent the last 28 years of my life literally multitasking as a career, because half of me is doing that work in the vault and you know so invested with the Zappa Trust, just so invested with them. And then the other half was, you know, playing the drums, you know, in whatever capacity I could, whether I'd be touring with a band or, you know, doing whatever. It's just like I've been doing this, like I said, for like 20 years. You know, it's been insane. It's been intense.
Chris says Joe at X Jam kicked ass. Well, yeah, that's why we invite him to X Jam.
That was fun.
That was an amazing show. Oh
you
my
guys
god!
did great too on the last one.
We tried.
Yeah,
we tried.
Did we suck on the other ones?
Yeah. Only the last one I thought you guys were pretty good. Everything
right.
was a little like, what? This is as cool as Keurig.
All I know is I got up there with Keneally, and I've jammed with Mike a few times, but this was the first time where we were the two guys close to each other. Our rigs were side by side, gonna cut heads during the jam, and that guy scared the crap out of me, Joe.
Yeah, he is
like
intense.
I love Mike to death, and I've never been on that end of playing with him. I've always been 25 feet away, and it's like, you know, like I look down, okay, go Mike, and then somebody else solos, and we do our thing. This was just me and Mike, like this, and he comes running at me like a demon, like he's been possessed, and there's something in his eyes that change when he's on stage and he's about to just like solo your ass off.
I remember saying you were looking at him going, Mike, and he wasn't there.
He completely was not there. He becomes possessed, and unless you're on stage with him, you don't see that from the audience. I've been watching the guy for 30 years, and you don't see that until you're playing with him, and then you see that he just checked out. He's somewhere else.
It's amazing when that happens. It really is. You know, the guy is like just such a absolute talent. You know, it just consumes him. You know, yeah.
He goes to another place.
Yes, he does.
And thankfully for all of us, because
because it's
we
so
get to experience the output from his other place.
Yeah, man, it's so inspiring.
I've got some great photos from that where he's just maniacally screaming at me, and I'm looking at my guitar like I just picked it up. Like I'm just like
like you're 12 years old going, ah.
And I played with Steve Morris, you know what I'm saying? And Mike Keneally is in my face, just like, what happened? Where did he go? He's like, what happened? But yeah, I love that guy. It's 1:30. I'm gonna throw a Who's the Man in there.
You know this drill, Joe?
Sure, I'll play along.
Yeah, he knows the Who's the Man.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so we do a lot of shreddy guys, and then here's a couple of guys that just lay it down, and this kind of came to mind because it's just sort of timely. But Who's the Man? Michael Anthony or Cliff Williams? Cliff Williams from AC/DC, those that you don't know, bass player.
Wow.
Okay, I'm going to say they both are masters of disappearing into the music. So since Michael Anthony has such a over-the-top persona, I'll go ahead and just go with him. They're both masters of doing exactly what the music needs and not drawing attention. But if you're going to get a Jack Daniels bass and punch it, then I'll give it to you.
Right.
Well,
but I love me some AC/DC so much.
I love both of them absolutely so much. But if I really had to choose, I mean, you guys know that I'm in brown M&Ms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. Right.
I love Van Halen's music pre-Sammy Hagar so much. It's like they were one of my favorite bands in the early 80s. they consumed me. I just loved them. I love Alex Van Halen's drumming so much.
Yeah.
And they had, more of an impact on me than AC/DC, although I love AC/DC so much. And I will tell you that the first time that I ever heard Highway to Hell, that to me was the perfect rock and roll record. I don't think I had ever heard anything, and then Back in Black came out, and then that was even more perfect than Highway to Hell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, those the production and the writing and Mutt Lange and the whole fucking deal, like those records are just amazing. They're just amazing. Yeah. But on the whole, I mean, Van Halen, man. I mean, I was Eddie Van Halen's guitar playing, and he was my favorite forever and ever and ever. And Alex was drumming. I mean, so I'm going to have to pick Michael just because of the inspiration from Van Halen. I think that's really it's just got to happen. And
you mentioned the pre-Sammy, but let me just mention more on the positive Michael Anthony side, that who else can sing a fifth above Sammy Hagar singing as high as he can sing?
There you go. And Cliff didn't sing, right?
Well, he did, but it was like the for those about to rock.
Yeah, gang vocals. Vocals.
2 steps forward, 2 steps back. That's the
rule. What did you call
it?
Gang vocals.
That's great. I've never heard that term.
Yeah.
I would concur, Michael Anthony.
Just to catch people up here.
Happens that my dad, who we've been speaking of all evening, his name is Michael Anthony. So I don't know.
Really?
Yes.
Yes. My dad's middle name is Anthony. Yeah. Michael
How about
Anthony.
that?
Who knew? Anyway.
Okay, just so everyone knows, Ray said, "Oh God, where's Dale's drums?" And then Glenn chimed in and said, "He's in somebody's basement, Ray." So yes,
you're not up on it, but I do have a drum with me. That's what I was playing.
Right. So
the drum.
This I show and tell this drum a couple weeks ago. This is a drum that my friend Joe, after I'd been looking for this drum, you showed me a drum that you had, this vintage Ludwig. Showed me a little video, and I was like, "Wow, that's really cool." And what I love about vintage drums is ones that are really versatile and not a $1,000 drum. Anyway, so I started looking for this basic vintage drum. Wasn't seeing it. And then I get a text from Joe, "Dale, this is it, buddy. Go get it." And it was perfect. It was so everything.
Well, let's see a nice shot of it. I know you've done it before, but
done it before. But this is a 1964 Ludwig Pioneer, all original. Well, I put a new snare wires on the bottom, gold badge. That's right. Has the weird paint on the inside, and has it's an imperfect finish. It's
which is exactly the coolest.
Yes, it is. It is. You don't want like a perfect one that hasn't been used. So this was really fun. I remember. I think I probably brought this up
doing stand up.
Right.
This is also my tabletop for the moment. So, my abductors were nice enough to give me a snare drum. But yeah,
a room and a snare drum and a mic. That's all you get.
I think we got into this habit years ago because I brought a Superphonic out on the road, and you talked about this one you had restored, and I was talking about getting an acrolite. Oh my gosh, I saw the biggest spider just now. He's going to have to die. But anyway, so
that Ludwig drum would come with nickel hardware or chrome hardware, and yours is chrome.
Yes, I like that. I like it. And so when 2 years, this was years ago that we started talking about Superphonics and acrolites, but I got a nice acrolite and I sent a picture to Joe of me hugging my acrolite. He's like,
you're part of the acrolite club.
Yeah, I am. And you got to see it today. You got to hear it.
Yeah, man, we were hitting all those. We tuned them all up. We got them all singing. They're all singing right now. I'm jealous.
It was great.
We had to break up the party for the broadcast tonight, right? Okay, put those drums away, boys.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
Get your ass on air. Yeah.
I'm going to try to catch and release something in case you see them.
Catch and release? Come on.
He's on Spider Patrol.
Yeah, no, you just take those things out. Sorry. Is that too much of a meat eater talking? I don't know. So I wanted to bring up. Though. Oh, you're gonna show it to us?
Yeah, let's see it. It's not black with a big red hourglass on its tummy, right?
What would be great is if Dale just disappeared and didn't come back.
It's like it.
You just hear like, poof,
The
he's
Stephen
gone.
King story.
I'm going to ask Joe something, but I don't want to interrupt because I know Dale's. Did you get it? Did you get a picture, Dale?
Yeah, he's trapped. He's not released, but he's caught.
Oh, okay.
It just looks like a typical spider that you see like this, but he's the size of a 50-cent piece. Like,
Oh,
wow.
shit.
Dude, whoa.
I mean, it's probably yay big with his legs. But usually you see spiders like that and they're that big.
Well, you know what happens if you get bit? Superhero time. You better be careful.
Yes, right. I know. My abductors will rue the day.
Pew, pew, pew.
Exactly.
So
I was only so nervous because I know when I see little guys like that, they're fast. So I was looking at this guy. Anyway.
Ray says Dale's new song, Basement Spider. I was going to just a quick overview for Ray too, because he missed it. So Jen's dad's 80th birthday was today. And so everybody was having a socially responsible 80th birthday. And that's why these guys are in different locations. So Dale doesn't have his drums because his drums are in a different town. I was going to bring up though, because other than being an amazing world-class drummer and just all-around fine guy that doesn't like watery hot chocolate, Joe Travers also is the keeper of the Zappa Vault, which entails, basically baking tapes, restoration, releases, mixing material for new releases, right? All that stuff.
Absolutely.
And so there's a few new Zappa releases on the horizon, correct?
Yeah, we're just enjoying the release of the Halloween '81 box set that came out in early October.
Nice.
Perfect for the Halloween vibe.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, but is Halloween one of your favorite holidays?
It's our favorite holiday. You should go back and watch that week's podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We have years of massive Halloween celebrations documented.
I love Halloween.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great because that was Frank Zappa's favorite holiday too. So
okay.
These last few Halloweens have been really fun because we've been putting out Halloween boxes, box sets, and they come with masks and costumes and like the old school stuff. So it's been fun. So this latest one, 3 shows remixed from the original 24-track analog tapes.
Wow.
All the tapes had to be baked.
Wow.
So it was a massive undertaking. But we remixed them from scratch, and it's pretty fun. So we're enjoying that. And then right now we are gearing up for the Zappa documentary, the Alex Winter documentary that
Alex Winter, as in Bill and Ted.
That's right.
Wow.
And Bill and Ted, and what's the vampire movie? Lost Boys.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Nice.
But Bill and Ted is actually just released. Like there's a new
one. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, he, is also a very, very fine director and documentary maker. And he came to the Zappa Trust when Gail Zappa was still alive at that point, and just basically submitted a sizzle reel, if you will, of things that he could get his hands on the internet, and said, we're interested in doing something on Frank. Now, of course, he's not the first person to say such a thing, because so many people have come to Gail and said there needs to be a documentary on Frank Zappa, and we'd love to do it. And she always would just frown on the idea because most people just weren't coming from the right place, or the right approach. But Alex did come from the right place and did have the right approach, and they hit it off. And so what happened was they coordinated a whole Kickstarter event, which entailed raising money from the fan base to save the vault, basically, which was a full-scale program in which we devoted the amount of money that was raised, which, by the way, it was the largest Kickstarter ever.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Ever?
Ever. in the
Holy
history of
moly.
Kickstarter. It's the most successful,
Wow.
largest Kickstarter that was ever done.
Nice.
And we use that money to save a lot of the film, because the film is the stuff that was in the most danger of dying, and we can't resurrect that stuff from the dead like we can with audio tape. Because if audio tape dies, you can bake it and you can bring it back to life. But if
I don't
you
want to interrupt this story here, but can you explain to the viewers what baking tape means?
Yeah, this is news to me.
well, what happens is that over time, tape doesn't play back properly. If you try to play it, the oxide actually literally removes itself from the back coat, and all of your precious music will completely go away forever and ever and ever. So in order for that to not happen, they devised a heat treatment. They found that if you bake the tape in a certain kind of a oven, which in this case would be either a food dehydrator or a convection oven, it has to be a certain type of heat, and it has to be a certain temperature,
Right.
Which is 120 degrees for about 10 or 11 hours per tape. And when you put that tape on the machine, it won't die. It'll
Right.
actually play.
Yeah.
So, but you cannot do that with film.
Oh,
If you
that's
put
really
film
interesting. Yeah.
there, it will just curl up and die, you know?
Wow.
So film, what happens to film is that the colors and the like the sharpness of the picture and the details of the picture just goes away, and it all turns pink.
Wow. Okay.
Right. And then audio mag, which is what would be on film, it's a different type of a film. And that, what happens to that is that it just curls up, and it just curls up, and then you can't put it on a machine because it's folded over, and it's just really old.
Right.
So you have to really transfer that stuff before it turns into that, right?
Yeah.
And Frank's film was turning into that. It literally was,
Do you know offhand what the shelf life of film is?
Well, it depends on how you store it.
Okay.
But if you put it in very, very, very cold storage, it'll last forever.
Okay.
But if you don't, then you're on borrowed time. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So the Kickstarter helped us to identify a lot of amazing footage.
That's awesome.
And so some of that footage was used in this new documentary film, right? And so now the film is finished after like a 5-year ordeal, undertaking. It was massive. But now here we are. The film is beautiful, and it's coming out well, it's been playing at like theaters, not theaters, but
festivals.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, because obviously with COVID, the whole theater thing is a nightmare. So it's really sad that the movie didn't get the chance to actually have a proper showing in theaters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But on
Thanksgiving.
Yep, Franksgiving. Yep. It's gonna be streaming, in video on demand and streaming right into your house. So we're excited about that. It's been a long time coming, and there's a really wonderful soundtrack that we put together for the film. It contains all of the music that was in the film, stuff from Frank's catalog, stuff that's unreleased from the vault, and then also there was a score that was written for the film by a composer named John Frizzell, and we chose segments from that as well. So it's a 3 CD set or a 5 LP set, and then there's also going to be a 2 LP set. And yes, it will be available on DVD and Blu-ray at some point, probably next year. And the vinyl's really pretty because we're doing special editions of it, so that's going to be really cool.
Cool.
And one of the things that's really funny is just the last couple of weeks I borrowed the Alien quadrilogy. There were like 4 Alien films, right? And my response to that is I love the first Alien film. The second Alien film is entertaining, James Cameron, whatever. I did not like the third one, and I did not like the fourth one. It wasn't
game over, man.
All concurred and agreed, probably.
Funny for this. I'm watching the fourth one, and the composer of the music for the fourth Alien is John Frizzell.
Oh,
the guy who did it for Zappa, and I had no idea. So
Okay.
I saw his name on the screen, and I was like, "Hot damn!"
Okay, I'm going to tell you this though, because Jen and I managed a video store for a decade and more than a decade. The shot
we lived the Clerks movie.
Yeah, the shot in the fourth one where Sigourney Weaver makes the basketball shot behind her back from all the way down the court.
Yeah.
She really did that.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
I think she did like 3 takes or something and hit it.
That's awesome.
And it was like, I'm out.
Yeah, that's cool.
If that was Instagram days.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I got to go back to some comments here based on the baking tape because this is a great one. Anthony said, making hot tracks. I like that.
Yep. And by the way, the best spider pun so far is just Spider Moon.
Yeah, but Chris said, did Dale just drink the spider? Sure thought he used that cup to catch it.
I had an extra cup because I had the 2 cups. But
you were double fisting and one was already down.
I had the 2 cups and the 1 drink. And then I already was eyeballing my wine in a solo cup. Thank you. And so I was already eyeballing it.
That's the party.
And then he said that, and now I'm just going to have to, I'm not going to drink it now. I can't drink it. Thanks a lot. I was already thinking that. And then once he commented that, I can't drink it.
Because you think there's a spider in it?
I don't really think there's a spider in it. I'm looking at the spider, but it's like when you're spooked.
You're letting.
And I have this.
Okay.
And I have this nice clear Don Julio that I know there's no spider in.
Oh, well, there you go.
Tommy says he saw the documentary multiple times and it's incredible.
Oh, good.
Oh, Steve. Yeah, there has been some showings.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. So if you're right now, it's just probably very select.
Yeah, there's been like some film festivals and stuff that it's played at, and drive-in film festivals. Like you get into your car and the old school drive-in sitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now it's going to be everywhere on.
Yeah, Thanksgiving.
Yeah, which
that's only like 2 weeks away, really. If that.
It's pretty cool. It's I was there from the beginning of this whole thing. So this has been a 5-year process. This documentary. Wow. Yeah, a lot of work.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's just great that we're here. It's great.
Congratulations.
I wish Gail was here. But
is there a part of you that still, I mean, we all kind of get used to our scenarios and our surroundings, and you've played with a lot of people and we played with a lot of people, but being part of that thing, holding up the legacy of Frank Zappa and being such a huge Zappa fan, do you ever kind of you still look at yourself and go, how did this happen? Like you think of 18-year-old Joe Travers.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. I always tell myself that it's not going to be until someday it's over where I'll be able to actually look back and be like, oh my God, I can't believe, the experiences that I had, the things I've heard and the tapes that nobody will hear, and the whole documenting aspect of what I do is just incredible. I'm preserving it for lifetimes beyond us.
Right.
There's going to be people, years and years and years past us that are going to see the work that I've done, and the databases and the hard drives filled with WAV files and video files. And it's just incredible. I mean, and it's an important work. I'm so happy that I'm getting the opportunity to do it. And also I'm really happy now about the way in which we have a distribution deal with Universal. That's a very positive venture because we're releasing more things now than really we ever did. And it's wonderful to be able to have that kind of gratification where, like, for instance, with the Halloween 81 box set, I mean, it was earlier this year that I was literally transferring some of those 24 track masters. I was sitting in front of the machine, transferring them digitally. And then months and months later, the world is listening to the same thing that I was, that's a really, really great feeling.
That's intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're actually making the call on mixes and things like that.
Yes. I produce and supervise everything. I mean, anything that Frank didn't produce, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
That's amazing.
John said, sorry, I'm jumping in. John said, write a book, Joe. And honestly, Serious.
I know. Between the experiences that I've had on the road with the different people that I've toured with, along with the Zappa thing, it's like I'm 52 years old and I've been through a lot.
So you could you see yourself writing a book?
Yeah,
would you?
someday.
Yeah.
Someday.
You
Sure.
need to do
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
I know. But you
I
know
could
why?
be a ghostwriter.
I feel like, not a lot of people in this world get the opportunities that I've had. And I think that at some point, anybody that's in a position where they've experienced the types of things that I have, no matter what, like even just like any famous musician, like if Alex Van Halen wrote a book, it would be so great to read about
Yeah.
what his life was like when he was on top of the world and stuff like that. Like anybody that has that kind of a life,
Yeah.
it'd be great to share so that people could share, because not everybody's going to have that kind of an experience in life. So at least they can read about it and be inspired by what happened to these people, right? So maybe people can read about what happened to me and be inspired by it someday. Who knows?
Yeah.
You bring up a really interesting point, because I have this discussion with a lot of people in my life, and there's a difference, at least with the surrounding of musician friends that we have, where there's some people that don't understand what it is to be a musician, and they think that you get into this because you need attention or an ego or all that stuff. But a lot of real musicians, like, I was a guy that got into it 100% for music, right? And then you find yourself living a life that other people don't live, and you get to have experiences they don't have, which is amazing, because, like we've talked about some of the stuff we've done where we get invited to NASA to be on the space shuttle and stuff like that, because we play a stupid guitar, you know what I mean? And it's that kind of stuff is amazing. But the point is, and exactly what you were saying, it's important, as it was for us, to find people in the world that you're inspired by and know, maybe I could go do that, or maybe I should try and be interested in something other than my own little world here, and kind of like go out and experience things a little bit. And you need people to see doing that sometimes to get the kick in the butt to do it. And so it's not, at least for me, and, it's not so much about like having an ego and having the attention from people as much as it is wanting to share with them and try and inspire them to want to get out there and live a good life, and that's kind of exactly what you're saying is. So I think there's nothing egotistical about saying something like that. If you've experienced some things that a lot of people haven't, and you share that, I think that's beautiful. And
Yeah, I mean, in my case, honestly, like I would say the first thing that I would say to anybody about what's happened to me in my life is this. If you have the right attitude and if you have the right talent, no matter what it is, if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a friggin' whatever it is, you know what I mean? If you've got the goods and if you're not an asshole, then really, honestly, anything is possible.
Right.
I really believe that. If you set a goal for yourself and you've got the goods to be able to reach that goal, what's going to stop you,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I discovered Frank Zappa's music when I was 10 years old, 1979, I think, right? 68. Yeah, 78. Yeah, I was 10. And in 1993, I was standing and sitting next to him while he was working.
Wow.
If you would have said that to me when I was 16,
Right.
or fuck, I would have been like, you're crazy. Like that just,
Yeah.
But fate has its way of creeping into your life, and
Sure.
really, really, if you concentrate on something hard enough and long enough, and if it really means that much to you, and you devote the right amount of energy towards it, with manifestation,
Yeah,
spirituality and stuff like
absolutely. Yes.
that, it can happen. It just can.
Absolutely.
And there's a thing too where a lot of people that don't understand what you're talking about think that there's this, I got to get in this door, or I got to meet the right guy, or I got to do this, or I got to do that. But the truth
Well, that's
is,
part of it.
it's part of it. But
It
the
is
reality is that if you live it, and there's not too many other people in the world living it at the level you are, and then you're just consistent, it's like, you're just that guy. I mean, that's how these things happen. If you're the guy that's so into Frank, and you're so, you get really skilled at whatever you need to be skilled at, where he pays attention. Mike Keneally, perfect example.
Well,
Right.
that Mike is the reason how it happened to me.
Right.
Mike was the one. He was the one that opened the door and allowed me to have my chance, right? So like Mike opened the door and I got a chance. Now, if I sucked or if I was an asshole or if I didn't have anything to offer, then yeah, I would have fell flat on my face and I would have never gone anywhere. And that would have been like 1992.
Yeah.
But that's just not the way. That wasn't in the cards. It worked out differently for me. So
it's interesting to me. You hear a lot of people when they're asked, when they have stature and they're asked, and they talk about the people they've met, and then they say, I guess it's all about the people I've known. And then it becomes that word networking conversation. And then when you're young and you don't have anything going on, you think, oh, I gotta network up to those people. But really what's happening is they're looking back at all the people they've met when they've been their true self with hard work and integrity. And of course it's the conversations you've had. And I feel like that journey of being true to yourself and doing what you're passionate about. And then, like you say, you get your chance and you were that guy, you were the real guy. There's this weird version of where it gets reversed, where people think I have to talk to people and convince them I'm the person instead of become who I am.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of, people that I've witnessed people in the industry who really had the gift.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They had the gift. They could really bullshit. Right. But when it came right down to it, they couldn't live up to the hype.
Right.
And then they end up not getting called back, or, they're just like, that guy's full of shit,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And another thing that's interesting about what's happened to me in my life is that I was able, when you talk about a network, I was able to build a name for myself and build a network for myself in a time where there was no internet. There was no Facebook, there was no YouTube, there was none of that. So I'm probably the last generation of people that never utilized social networking as a tool to try to gain, exposure.
Yeah. We started in that time too. And I'm the last guy also, just to add to the point, I'm the last guy to believe in boogity boogity, as David Hasselhoff would refer to it as, but deep reference, folks, deep reference. But I will say that Jen and I, we were listening to, Steve Morris Band Dregs, going, okay, now we found the band. Like, we were huge Rush fans, but we're not going to sing like Geddy. And then we found this band, okay, this is what we could do. We could do this. And then through the years, things just start to happen where all of a sudden we live in the same town where Music Man is, which is Steve Morris's signature guitar. We didn't know that when we were huge fans of his, starting to play that music. Then all of a sudden you're like, trying to figure out how to play that music. And then those guys are becoming your friends. And then they're giving you advice. And then they're like playing on your records and inviting you to sit in with them at shows because you're the guy doing what not many other people are doing that they did. And those are exactly the kind of things where that all happened almost like it was supposed to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the things about you guys, the TLB, is that I won't say never, but like it's not very, it's something that isn't in the cards for me much, is the fact that you guys as a unit are able to creatively compose and create your own intellectual property with your music. And you'll always have that. You'll always have those 7 or 8 records that you guys already have and your DVDs. And, your output is like, here it is. You offer it to the world, but it's something that you guys have created. And I wish that I could have a solo album. I wish that I could write music. I wish that it wouldn't cost me thousands and thousands of dollars to rely on friends to get together and help me kind of turn some of the things in my head that into a reality, like it's just a process that is, not easy and kind of super foreign to me. So even though I'm playing drums with all these people, I'm basically playing music that other people compose and I get hired to play. But for it to come from here, your own thing, that's another kind of a gratifying musical situation that I'm not going to get that many opportunities in my life to have, really. And that's something that you guys, that's like regular occurrences for you guys, you know?
Well, maybe before Joe Travers is like walking with a cane, he's got some friends with studios that can play instruments, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. maybe something like that happens someday. But
Joe, I don't mean to interrupt, but do you feel like a composer? Do you have a lot of music in your head, or do you consider yourself a sideman?
I'm mostly a sideman.
Yeah.
I went to school for music, but when I was going to school, all I really cared about was being a professional drummer.
Okay.
I didn't care about production and engineering. I didn't care about learning guitar or piano or learning chords or scales or modes. I didn't give a shit about any of that stuff. All I wanted to do was be the next drummer in the Eat 'em and Smile band.
Right.
So I used Berkeley as a way to build a network, like we were talking about. Okay, the people that I met at Berkeley, Brian Beller, Oriel, so many. I can name so many people that were at the same time as me. You know, we all kind of went on to do our things. But I learned how to interact with musicians and play with musicians. I learned multiple styles of music at Berkeley, so it was a really great experience. But I didn't do at Berkeley probably the things that I probably really should have, which is try to learn how to be a composer. Try to learn how to. You know, I'll never forget. Are you ready for this story?
Yes.
When I moved to Los Angeles, okay, I was a long-haired, thin, 23-year-old rock star wannabe cat who just happened to have different styles of music infused in his body. Where if I didn't make it as a rock and roll hair drummer, then I'd be able to actually play other styles of music and sound okay. That was my, you know. So I was working at Tower Records on Sunset Boulevard.
Nice.
That was my gig. Okay. Nice. And one day, Gene Simmons came in. I was a huge Kiss fan when I was a kid, right? And then I had the biggest fucking balls. Like, I would go up to anybody and talk to them because, like, you know, literally Michael Jackson came into Tower Records and I'm the one that went, you know, in the back of Tower Records when everybody else was like, oh, we're not allowed back there. And I was like, fuck that. I'm going back there and talking to Michael Jackson. And I totally did. But anyway, so Gene is there and he's standing there and he's shopping. And of course, Gene knows that anything he's going to do is attract attention. So, you know, everybody's kind of like, whatever. And I'm just like, I'm going to talk to Gene Simmons right now. So I go up to him and I go, hey, Gene, what's going on? And he looks at me like, you know, like didn't even talk to me really.
Like you're a bug.
And I said, hey, man, I said, you know, my name's Joe. I said, I'm a drummer. I just moved to town. And I want to be, you know, I definitely, you know, want to be in a band. I want to be in a band like House of Lords. Now, if you don't know who that band is, that was a band that was signed to his label at the time. Right. And I was a fan of them at that time, right? So I thought I'd be the coolest fucking cool dude. I dropped the band name. Right. Right. So I go, so I want to be in a band like House of Lords. And he looked at me and he goes, well, are you good? I go, well, I think so. You know, I just went to Berklee College of Music. I just graduated. And he goes, well, that's not good. And I looked at him and I was like, what? And he goes, look, learn to write music like Phil Collins and you'll be fine. And then he just walked away.
Wow.
Oh, my word.
Advice.
Oh.
Like, okay, so
my word.
Cool, but what you really should do is you should, you know, learn how to write songs like Phil Collins. He's a drummer and he writes songs, and there you have it.
Right.
Wow.
What did you feel in that moment? What was your reaction? Even just internally.
Well, he was right, you know, in a way. You know, he really was right. I mean, you know, if I had that talent on my side, my opportunities in the music world would have been way bigger, you know, because I would have had more to work with. So I understood what he meant.
Yeah. So you dug it, but it might have felt a little like, ooh.
Oh, definitely felt ooh. But but I knew that he was kind of right. You know what I mean?
It's interesting that you bring up the, you know, having that material forever, because I feel like that all the time. And I say that a lot amongst these guys, you know, like Jen and I talk about that a lot, where we have, every time you finish a song, when you really like pour everything into it and it takes weeks, and then you go, this thing's done and I love it. you go, this is always going to be there. You
Yeah.
know, it's always something I can do. And same thing with this show, shameless plug, this show that I'm doing next Saturday in place of this show, the blues kind of tinged thing is I had to go through our catalog and kind of find things that would fit. But we've got like, I don't know, 70 something, 80 songs, whatever. And I can find like, you know, an hour's worth of material that fits sort of a blues show. And they're ours. They're just there. It's like, let me go grab some, you know, and it's like this valuable little jewel. Like that's kind of the way I think of it. I heard Joe Satriani, and this is going to be ironic because he just released some backing tracks for the first time in his career. But I heard him say maybe 8 or 10 years ago, people kept going, why don't you release your backing tracks? Why don't you have like play along tracks? And he says, you know, I work really hard on those tracks, and to me, they're precious. And I don't want to just have anybody be able to do what they want to them and do my thing, you know, like I worked very hard to be able to do those songs the way I do them because they're mine. And I totally understood that. You know, I got that in every way of like, you work your ass off on these things, and there's these precious little things in the air that belong to you, and you can always do them. You know, hopefully, you know, I'll be 65, 70 years old, and I'll be able to play a song that we wrote in 1996 and say, this is still us, you know?
Okay. On that topic. Okay. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Would it bother you if you were Van Halen or Queen or any of these bands that had songs on Rock Band, the video game, or Guitar Hero, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in order for those, as you know, in order for those video games to be able to do what they do, the record companies have to submit, if they don't re-record them, if they don't spend the money for a band to re-record the songs, then what they do is they literally send the actual stems.
Mm-hmm.
Video game people, right?
Right.
What happens is that when you're a band like Van Halen or Queen,
Right.
you're a legendary band, and those stems mean a lot to people.
Right.
They leak, right? So you've got Led Zeppelin stems and Steely Dan stems and all of these stems that are property of Universal or Warner Brothers or Sony, okay? And they do that, and you get the paycheck, but in the return, what really ends up happening is that your intellectual property is now on the bootleg market, and people are downloading stems to Asia by Steely Dan, or, you know, Fool on the Rain by Led Zeppelin, right?
Right.
And there's nothing that those bands can do about that now,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
So how would you feel if like that happened to you guys?
Well, I mean,
Because it's completely out of your control, right?
Yeah,
if it's something you
absolutely.
don't want out there, and that's again one of the reasons I kind of hang on tight to that stuff. And
Yeah.
it's an avenue to make money, to be sure. I mean, Joe Satriani has finally started doing it. Steve Vai started doing it years ago, where he would put out his whole album as just, you know, the backing track. But I don't want to walk into like, you know, some coffee house where some kid's doing my stuff better than me to my tracks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I want to be able to show up and do my show from people that like what I do, and that we have a thing and we understand each other. And I don't necessarily want someone else to be able to do that. So this is interesting. We've talked about this a few times on the latest podcast, but there's a Japanese band that basically plays all the Travis Larson material, and the guy bleaches his hair blonde, tries to look like me, had a girl bass player for a while, but then lost her, and they have it. And everyone's going to go looking for this. You're never going to find it. And I'm not going to tell you how to find it, because it's a sweet gesture, but it's let's just say it's not the Travis Larson Band.
Yeah.
You know what I
Leave it
think?
at that. So yeah.
Sorry.
go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was just going to say, but the guy has started doing solo shows after I started doing solo shows. Like about 2 years ago, I started doing these local solo shows with some looping and some backing tracks. And he's creating his own Travis Larson Band backing tracks. Like, he's programming the drums and everything. And you can find video of him playing our songs with backing tracks that aren't ours, obviously. You know, what's funny about that, the irony, I'll let you talk in just a second. I was going to say the irony of that is the song, one of the songs I saw him do, we're not totally happy with the engineering on that record. And I was like, maybe that guy would send us his backing track.
Yeah. First thing I thought too.
Sorry, go ahead, Dale.
Nice job. I feel like there are levels of how you react to what you're asking, based on your impact on the culture, for lack of a better way of saying it. You know the way actors get so big that they lose control of their likeness. Like if I'm Alec Baldwin, I don't have the same rights because I become public domain somehow. I'm not using the right terms, but
yeah.
And so I have a feeling if we were a band who was in Rock Band and were losing control of some of that intellectual property, we would have already come to grips with losing some of that stuff. It's almost like we've made an impact on the culture that we're no longer in control of. You know what I mean? However, when you're at our level, you're like, hey man, what's going on here? I need to know exactly what's happening, because I feel like when you've reached a certain level, maybe you've been compensated in ways, and I don't just mean money, that maybe you just relax about losing control of that stuff.
Because the positive side of that is like what Tommy Quirk is saying, copyright infringement is the sincerest form of flattery. I mean, so obviously you're going to make some money.
Yeah, it's a sincerest form of flattery unless you haven't had an opportunity to profit from it yet.
Let's hope that you're going to profit from this, right? So that's one thing. And then also too, like if musicians can learn from hearing isolated stems of classic music, like how did this happen? Like, why does this song sound the way that it does? Well, here's one reason how. And then you learn about engineering. You learn about how good those tracks sound by the people that tracked it, how the players played when they played it, right? And so it can be inspiring to a lot of people to be able to get on the inside scoop of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's the good, positive side of it. But if you're like Prince, or if you're like, some artist that like wants complete control of their shit, like I don't know if Frank Zappa would necessarily want the isolated tracks of the Freak Out record circulating out there.
Right.
I don't think it was something that he would like. I mean, just some people are very kind of close to their stuff. Close to others,
Well, and it's accelerated now too. Like if you're doing something that impacts culture in the world right now, and then 6 months later, everybody knows all the individual tracks, that would demystify it. It would take magic out of it, I believe.
Yeah.
But like I will say, hearing YYZ isolated drum tracks, fucking awesome. But I've waited 30 years for this.
Right.
So it's different. It's like I've already gone. I wasn't made lazy. We all lived in our brain trying to learn those parts, and we were creative and we put those muscles to work, and it didn't lose anything in that process. But yeah, right now, if you become huge and then within a year everybody can hear all the inside of it, I don't know, that it's a little different than how we would have experienced things when we were kids.
I want to mention a couple things. One is Anthony said, I mean, if you're good enough to mimic that level of technical proficiency, you can make your own music. Here's exactly what Jen and I have said since day one about Rush. Every single person in our career, everyone's like, you guys should cover Rush. You guys should do a Rush, thing. You should do a Rush tribute after Rush, finalized their career, all this stuff. And it's like, if we wanted to put so much work in to learn all that Rush material, we might as well write another Travis Larson Band record, honestly.
Yeah.
The Rush already did it better than we're going to do it because that's what they did. That's their thing. Yeah. And so, I mean, like jamming a song at the end of a show is one thing, but like doing anything on a serious level, and I'm not like I get the tribute thing, but I'm not a huge fan of it. And I'm certainly not a huge fan of, I have to be careful, but Rush tributes are not my favorite because it's a little sacrilege in my world. And I know Jen feels the same because, we grew up together since we were kids, and that was like sacred ground, and so I don't want to see guys not do it like they did it. I want to see them do it. And if I want to see them do it, I'll go grab a DVD and I'll put it in on the big screen. We'll crank it and we'll sit there and have a night. And we'll go like, hey, let's go watch this again. Remember we used to watch this before we went and played gigs, get all hyped up, but I don't want to spend a year learning, a Rush album so we can go play it not as well as they did it.
Right. I understand. You know,
Mhm.
I'm around M&Ms, right? And
Yeah.
that was put together out of just pure love for that music.
Yeah.
And and you have to have the right people in order to play the stuff and do it justice, right? So I would never do it if I thought that it was not up to par. Like,
Can I say, I want to interject too and say, I think different bands are different levels of that too. Like somehow Van Halen being like the king of the bar bands, somehow it's like not as sacrilege as doing something like with a band like Rush. And that's my own logic personally.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, we played Van Halen. Jen and I played Van Halen a bunch back when we did cover bands.
Sure.
Like she used to sing the Michael Anthony parts.
Yes.
Started with the devil.
Somehow you guys got synced over the internet. That was great.
yeah, so I hear you. For me, brown M&Ms is not something that I'm like, hey, I want to do a Van Halen tribute band, and I want to be the best, and I want to make it a career thing.
Yeah.
Like it's just not it. Like the only reason why I'm doing it is just to have some fun.
It's fun.
I want to play it.
Yeah.
There's a purity
That's
about
kind of
it.
the way that music is, though.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a purity about it in your position, and I don't know if I'm overthinking it, but you're clearly doing it for the fun of it. And then there are people who play like complicated music, and then it's a natural thing to say, this is a tough hustle. Maybe we should do a tribute thing. And I don't know, we've talked about this a little bit, but don't be surprised when everybody loves your tribute way more than they love your original music that is challenging to listen to, and they haven't you're taking something that Rush infused into the consciousness for 30 years or whatever it is, and then you're accessing that. But you've only been pushing your music on it for 7 years, and there's less feedback for it. So you start doing this in a cynical way, and that becomes the only thing they want to hear from you.
Right.
Yeah.
In your position, it's like, I don't know if I said that very well, but in your position, it's completely obviously pure that you just love this,
Well, and I personally have my own little quirk, which is, it's certain things that are so close to me personally that I don't necessarily want to taint. It's more of that, it's like people say the same thing about Steve Morris. They say, you guys should do some Steve Morris songs because those guys never play, and, or do some Dregs covers. And it's like, yeah, but it just feels wrong. I mean, Steve's still here. Like, I'm not going to try and learn a Steve song. Why would I do that? Steve's going to, he can still kick the shit out of me doing that stuff. Why would I want to do it? I'm just going to try and write the best Travis Larson band music I can write. And if there's a bunch of influence in there, that's great. But hey, Joe, I'm going to put this on you being the techie. I had a question. What are stems? We were talking about stems of albums and stuff.
Are like the isolated music tracks. Okay, so like let's say you've got a 24 track analog tape. Okay, track 1 will be the kick drum. Track 2 will be the snare drum. Track 3 and track 4 will be stereo tom left and right. Track 5 and 6 will be the stereo overheads. And you keep on going. And every keyboard track, stereo keyboards, stereo guitars, or a DI and a Marshall or an amp head, for the guitars, vocal tracks, multiple vocal tracks, effects tracks, all those things are isolated on a separate track. So when you have the access to all of those tracks separated out, you can just solo them up in Pro Tools or whatever your digital audio workstation is, and you can hear all of the ingredients that made that composition, just like the ingredients that makes food. You need salt, sugar, wheat, flour, and then that all comes together, and then someone organically creates something from it, right? Well, these are the ingredients that made these classic songs. And a lot of people being able to hear that stuff is a revelation, because all you ever get is the stereo mix. Like, all you will ever really hear is the stereo mix of Led Zeppelin 2, right? But if you hear those drum tracks on their own and how they were recorded and how much room was there, because it was only an 8-track tape at that point, right? So you've got something like that. you get to hear all the secrets that made that record sound the way that it does. And there's a lot of people that could benefit from that, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what a stem is. The stem is an isolated music track.
Well, is it an isolated individual track, or is it a grouping of, say, the instrument, like the drum set? You know, like when I think of stems, I think stem would be like the mix minus everything but, say, the drums, or minus everything.
Well, maybe I'm wrong, but for me, stems are
the actual individual track.
Multiple singular tracks.
Right.
A stem is one track. Stems are just multiple tracks, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And then
how
when you have access to the stems, you can create a performance. You can recreate a performance.
Remix. Yeah.
Remix. Thank you. Yes, not recreate. Whole different thing. So, and you know, I sort of agree with this. Joey says, I don't believe the statement about technical proficiency in writing. I or Travis or one of us sort of framed it like, if you're going to work that hard, you can make your own music. And some people, I guess, are more interested in performing than writing. So I guess maybe as long as, you know, I get that.
Here's the thing. In the case of Travis Larson, okay, if he is going to be like, okay, I can make a choice. I can write new music.
Yeah.
And make more intellectual property and be creative and make my own statement in the world. Or I can have fun recreating music that I love, right? Yeah. To Travis, what's more important to him is that, you know, in my case, I'm a side man and I play with a bunch of people, but there's music that I love. And if I can get a chance to play Van Halen one night with Eric Dover and Toshi Inagi, who plays the shit note for note, and Sean McNabb, why would I want to turn that down? I love that fucking music, and it'd be really fun. You know what I mean? But he is a different player. I mean, a different person, because he's his own artist.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. That needs to take precedence over.
I agree with that.
Other people's stuff, they're their own artist. You know, Rush is their own artist. They're not going to want to play Who cover band stuff. They're going to want to write a new Rush record. Right?
I agree. Right. If somebody has something compositional to say, they should say that. That's the more important thing for the world. You know, Joe, I was going to ask a question earlier, and this sort of reminds me of it when we were talking about you doing sessions. And I was influenced in my early playing by people who, like Dave Weckl. We were talking about that earlier. Whose goal, he had his identifiable sound, but his goal was to have such a collection of tools that he could be a sideman to anything, or that's how I understood it when I was, you know, coming up. He wasn't being Phil Collins. He was being this badass guy who could play anything, any session, in any style. And so here's my question. And so I was influenced by guys like him, where I was not really trying to be myself. I was trying to figure out what the composer wanted, get inside their head and extract that, and see if I had the ability to be that. You know what I mean? So, and then right away, even as a teenager, I noticed some songwriters, there were sort of two kind of songwriters in my mind. The people who know exactly what they would like to hear, and you can never be perfectly that, but you can be close, and they're happy with you if you're closer than everybody else. And then there's a person who doesn't have a really preconceived idea. They would like to see what you bring to it. And it wasn't always obvious how to figure out what kind of person it was. Have you run into that in doing sessions? Have you run into that you want to just say, look, do you have an idea of what this is, or do you just want to put my thing on it? But once you ask that question, they feel like they should say, well, I want you to bring something to it. But really, they're like, I want you to sound like this.
Well, that all depends on the composer. But I really think that, honestly, like as a sideman, okay, one of the ideal opportunities musically that you can come across is a musical situation where that artist or that composer does allow you to be you, which in turn complements the tune. Mm-hmm. And there's not a lot of instances where that happens, you know, as a sideman. Unless you write your own music, then it's a different story. But like if you're not a writer of your own music, kind of like me, then I'm either playing somebody else's stuff. And if you're playing somebody else's stuff, you're either kind of restricted to whatever they want, or like I said, you get the opportunity to actually express yourself and come up with drum parts that you think works for the tune. And if it ends up working, then your imprint is there. Like for me, the Music for Pets record for Z, okay, which is the second, well, basically the kind of the first full length record that I ever really had the opportunity to record as a band member of a band. Okay, that was in 1994, and that was me coming up with the drum parts for Dweezil and Amit's songs, and everything that I came up with, give or take ideas that Dweezil might have thrown at me or whatever, was things that I created. When I listen back to that record, it's like there's a lot of me in that music, and that's super gratifying. And there's not a lot of opportunities where you get that where you get that chance.
Yeah, it's true.
So I think that's like if you're a sideman and you come across an opportunity like that, it's like it's a blessing, really.
Yeah, that is how you found your musical home. That's how you know, like when you're not thinking that way anymore. Like I used to always go, tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do, and I'll figure out how to do it. And then when I met Travis and Jen, it was more like, I'm gonna go off and cook up some stuff, and you can tell me what you think.
Yeah,
and that's the greatest thing about what you guys are doing, is that you're bouncing ideas off each other as a band. And there's not a lot of I mean, like Ringo was in a band, and the parts that he came up with was the perfect parts for the music.
right.
Yeah.
He wasn't just like a side guy who was playing with a bunch of people and just, he was fully invested in the band. You guys are fully invested in your own band, and that's a real different thing than, like for what I get hired to do, like I get hired to play with Joe Satriani. You guys are writing your own Joe Satrianis, you guys do your own thing. So,
It's Cooler Pond.
Nice.
Our pond doesn't buy as many groceries, but
And right. The pond doesn't buy as many groceries as the pool.
But it still is gratifying.
Hey, just real quick, I wanted to mention this comment, which is cool from Anthony, because I haven't heard someone compare it quite this way. But he says it's easier to trace a picture than it is to create the original.
Sure.
In relation to writing music, or Wayne says there's lots of different types of musicians. I'm not a pro. I just like to play songs that inspire me. TLB, yes, drags, all of the above. All above my pay grade, but fun as hell to play. There was a nice comment about Jen in here I saw, which I'm trying to. Oh, he said Greg says Jennifer inspires my playing, but I don't sound like her. That goes back to when we were talking about, influence.
I love that comment. People at drum clinics will say, "Who are your influences?" And I realized my favorite drummer alive is not an influence. He's an inspiration. I don't sound anything like Vinnie Colaiuta. I haven't even really studied him enough to know what he does, but I can never get sick of listening to him,
Yeah, it's an inspiration, that guy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're just about there, guys.
Let's wrap her up, man.
We got leftover cake to probably get into and whatnot.
Can I answer this one comment without getting loaded into a drama-infested conversation?
Oh, load it up.
James David Tejeda, is that how you say your name?
Yep.
Yeah, Tejada. I wasn't sure if you wanted to address that, so go ahead.
Did Dweezil remove the dog heads off of Mike and Brian on the cover for Music for Pets? The answer is yes. Yes, he did. How about that?
There you go, James. How about
I was ignoring that comment.
That's bonus.
No offense, James.
Wait a minute. Is he saying, did Dweezil remove the dog heads off Mike and Brian on the cover, or did he replace Mike and Brian with dog heads? I don't know what the question is.
Oh.
Well, let me just put it to you this way. He replaced Mike and Brian, and he put dog heads in place of them. All right? Okay. There you have it.
Well, all right.
There's all kinds of inside.
Straight from the man himself. Now we know the answer.
There's all kinds of inside jokes about whether or not that was a good idea with any of those guys, right?
What about your quick joke?
Oh, Jen, do you have a joke?
Oh. What does a clock do when it's hungry? It goes back 4 seconds.
Oh.
Hey, real quick, next Saturday at 7 p.m. I will be here performing for Can't Stop the Blues. We won't be doing an Outside the Inn for everybody, just so you know. So check out the link in the first comment of this feed, or check out the links posted on the Facebook pages, Travis Larson or Travis Larson Band. I will be playing a set of blues-centric material for Can't Stop the Blues, which is a supportive music promoter out there doing some streaming stuff.
Blues is not boring.
Blues is not boring.
Christy, Jeff.
You know what else isn't boring?
What?
The intake of helium and how you feel when you suck it up. Jen,
I know. Are
True
you ready
story.
for this?
Blues is not boring. We love the blues. We need some blues, Dale.
Come on.